that we're going to be seeing competing, and then it's off to the ZP2s after this. But once they get out onto the track, these drivers will be looking to set their fast time once again in about 10 minutes of racing time that they've got out on the circuit. What are your takeaways so far, Joey? Because I find the mention of the humidity kind of interesting. I went and checked. 86%. That does seem a little steamy.
Yeah, but I think that would be more in concern about the drivers inside the car versus the actual performance level of the car and doing the lap time. And here in qualifying, it's only 10 minutes, right? So I don't think that the humidity is going to play a factor. Now, once we get into the race this afternoon, if you're doing doubles or triples, then we do have to worry about that humidity level. The one nice thing is that it's still mid-60s out there, so not too warm. Just got to control all of that water weight that the driver is constantly intaking. We heard Matt say lots of coconut water, going to be lots of those Gatorades, lots of water, just to make sure that the driver stays hydrated throughout the weekend.
Green flag is out, and we already heard the engines in the distance. Here's the cars on their way around the circuit. Everybody out immediately. They're going to want to get a little bit of space between them, I think, instead of try to run so close to one another. In fact, they're already jockeying for track position, coming down into the braking of Charlotte's Web. This is looking a little bit more like a race start than qualifying start.
Yeah, they're just antsy to get out there and get rolling, and everybody has a little bit of a different method to the madness in qualifying. Some drivers like to follow another car. Let's say if you're third, fourth, fifth fastest in this group of 8, it's always nice to go out there and maybe follow the fastest car all weekend, maybe be able to pick up a few tips. And then some drivers, they like a completely clean windshield out front, nothing to distract them. That way they can focus on their brake markers, their apexes, and put together that perfect lap.
So we've got Turek out there in the number 7. We've got Walsh. Actually, Turek, I think, is still showing in pit lane. Walsh is out there returning, currently in the number 14 car. Daly in the number 70. We've got Gray in the number 73 as well. Pretty much everybody immediately hopped out there, and it looks like the 73 is just getting ready to cross the line. The first to start that flying lap into turn 1. Tricky entry to start this lap around here. You can see that's one of the spots where they do have the paved runoff to the outside to try and save you. Although if you're going quick enough, Joey, we saw that sometimes even that paved runoff and what little gravel they have is not enough to stop the car.
No, if you get in trouble in turn number 1, you better hang on to it for sure out there. But this is our second of our GT classes, as that was a big loose moment going into turn number 5 there for the number 73 car. That's that finish line RPM. That's the E46 M3, but thankfully Fast Hands was able to catch it on the way in with that snap of oversteer. But I was going to mention that this is our second of 2 GT classes out there. We just saw the ZR2 class, and this is the orange ZR3 class. The biggest difference, these ones a little bit slower in that horsepower to weight ratio, so not quite as many ponies under the hood, if you will say.
Exactly. We were watching Liam Gray for a little bit. We switched back to the 392 in the meantime. Ramirez currently behind the wheel and looking like might be the fastest car on the track. I see 2 purple sectors for that car, and we've got a yellow flag, and I think that might be for the 555, showing is stopped just in the midst of sector 2. The car now moving, thankfully, on the track map, so hopefully we will stay green.
I see that as well as we get these cars coming across start-finish here. This is a newer chassis car passing an E46. Now, BMW fans, you might recognize some of these older class cars. I believe that is what they call an E92 coupe chassis right here, this black, blue, and red themed car. And then the E46, that blue, almost Laguna Seca blue, what it looks like out here, a little bit further back, 2 different generations. And then, of course, what we saw a little bit earlier in that ZR2 class was also an E46 chassis car, but without a lot more bodywork. It had a few more horsepower, and these cars out here are all about managing that driving level and managing the horsepower to weight in here in this ZR3 class and basically being able to wring the neck out of this thing the entire weekend.
I was correct there about Ramirez being the quickest on that first time around, 36.7. And that 392 machine, Manley in the 85, about 3 seconds behind. It's pretty close between Manley and the 70 machine as well in that M2. So that should be interesting to watch if they stay this close. But as we get to the halfway mark already, Walsh now jumps up into second, still about 2.8 seconds off of Ramirez's time, but definitely finding some good track position here in that number 14. So Chris looking like he is on the pace quickly.
Big time slide coming there out of the tunnel turn, just right on the limit of traction, and then through the last couple sets of corners here, turn 16 and 17 at Barber Motorsports Park, and slightly downhill run here to the start-finish line as you come out of that final corner there. It looks like these times are starting to shuffle around a little bit. I believe that was Daly in the number 70 car moving up into third in class.
Nicely done by him. And in fact, Walsh is already on a personal best for the first sector, another yellow flag. And for the second time in a row, it looks like it's the 55 in the exact same spot. Don't know what sort of issues that car is having, as they are getting it running once again. But that is very strange that they would come to a halt without a seeming accident in the exact same spot twice in about 7 minutes.
Yeah, it tells me that there might be something going on internally with that car there. If it's happening in the exact same area, usually means consistency, right? The exact same turn, the exact same brake, the exact same throttle, whatever it is causing an issue. But everybody else out here is down to approximately 3.5 minutes remaining. And like you mentioned, Joe, everybody chasing that 392.
The marker is still at a 35.9 from Ramirez. Sergio has quite a handy gap over the rest of the field, but Walsh is improving, gets it down to a 39.5. That's still 3.6 seconds off as we watch the 85 of Manley also improving. And boy, that car is sliding everywhere here at the end of the lap.
Coming out of this corner, like you had mentioned, just trying to keep all the traction underneath the car there, and especially through that final sector. It's a lot easier said than it is done inside the race car. You're just trying to squeeze every little last bit of mile an hour out of each one of these apexes. And when you get into those slower speed sections of the racetrack, calling tunnel turn 16, 17 to kind of round out the lap here, you feel a little bit more anxious and a little bit more aggressive simply because the speeds are slower, so that way you can toss the car around versus maybe some of the faster speed sections like turn 10, 11, 12, and 13 just before.
And you were talking about Jacob Daly and the speed that he was showing. He's got himself down to a 139.5 last lap. That puts him on the front row of this class. It's looking pretty good for him. Still nobody able to touch Sergio up at the front. Nobody within 3 seconds of our quickest car. Chris Walsh has responded to Jacob. He has now put himself into that P2 spot. They are split by hundredths of a second.
Getting extremely close there inside P2 and P3 here in this orange ZR3 class. And you got to remember, Joe, it all comes down to what you opened up our qualifying with. This is all about track position to start this race. So if you can start on row number 1 versus row number 2, it can provide you that advantage going into the Alabama roller coaster for the first time. If you can start up towards the front versus in the back, you might be able to avoid a little bit of a mess in turn number 5 or the museum corner the first couple laps. So that's what qualifying that we're watching right now is all about, trying to set yourself up for the perfect position to start that green flag later.
Very much so. Yes, it is a 5-hour race, but you want to get off on the right foot. Hopefully you can make those passes later. Eric Powell, by the way, in the 555 managed to appropriately put that car into 5th place now. And actually getting ready to improve if the trend continues. Personal best first sector. Chris Walsh, though, personal best second sector. Ramirez was in pit lane, but now showing as coming back out potentially. No, it looks like they're heading back into the garage area. So the 392 is officially done with their qualifying with not enough time to get back out on track. We got 20 seconds left, and I think the last car able to start a lap here is going to be the number 14 of Chris Walsh.
Let's see what Chris can do. He was able to sneak under that start-finish line with about 10 seconds remaining before that checkered flag finally comes out. And I'm looking at it here on my screen. Time and scoring checkered is officially out, so it is all up to this single lap here for this number 14 car. Currently sitting P2 in class with a 138.87. Going to see if he can improve that. He's got to pick up a big chunk of time if he wants to go try to catch that 392.
Powell is looking good. He crosses the line and improves on his lap time, but does not improve position. Daly as well has wrapped it up. Does not go any quicker. And, he does, 39.3, but again, does not improve position. Manley does not manage to take any more time. Chris Walsh is currently on the backside of the circuit as Jenkins in the 777 is just getting ready to come to the line here shortly. They are 6th out of the 6 who have set times in this session, but no, they will abandon the lap and they head back into pit lane. Now, will Chris try and stay out? Because 3 seconds is a lot to make up. I think at this second place, Joey, I would say let's just bring it in from here.
I agree with you. When you look at the big picture of it all, I don't think you're going to make up 3 seconds to steal away that pole position from the 392. However, if you've been trying to work out maybe a quirk with the car over in one specific section of the racetrack, one additional lap, never a bad idea.
Certainly not. But the drivers then with him going across have all wrap things up. Now it's just down to waiting for Ramirez to return, where I believe we will join at some point eventually Sloan for a chat with our provisional pole sitter over there. What a fantastic job by the team to really separate themselves coming in with a splash on this one. And like we said, you could definitely use that to your advantage come the race itself. So, as we wait for the driver to get ready here, I know we do have one more qualifying left to go. So, it looks like we've got Sloan at the ready with Sergio Ramirez. Sloan?
Good, how are you? Good. Awesome. Hey, guys, I'm here with Sergio. How are you? Congratulations, first and foremost. How did it feel out there?
It was very great. Car felt hooked up. Obviously, the pace, you can see it. So, yeah, we were afraid it was going to be a little damp, but it's been drying out so well. Car just performed flawlessly. Thanks to all the team, Harrison Motorsports, they just set it up perfect.
Awesome. Have you ever been here before? Do you have any little secrets and tricks up your sleeve?
Yes, we do come here often. I'm from Atlanta, so Barber is kind of like a home track to us, too. It's just patience. You just got to be patient, not overdrive the car, and it'll come to you.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and we'll see you on the track soon. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Sloan. Okay, well, interesting stuff that we're seeing, but this one's going to be a bit different once we get these ZP2 cars out on track, Joey. I really enjoyed seeing these last time. These are our prototype field, and they've essentially got what is a spec class with these cars. These are all the Sebico NPO1. Now, some of them are in Evo, so they do have some slight differences, but this is all even footing. Everybody should be a lot closer.
That's exactly what the spirit of the class is, right? We've had the 2 GT-based classes with the ZR2s and the ZR3s, and now we're going to go over to our prototype-based class, the ZP2. And the easiest way to think about these is kind of entry level prototypes out there. They do have all of the downforce features that you're going to find in more advanced level cars. However, if you were to walk up to one of these things, you might say, hey, this is a little bit smaller than what we typically see maybe over at IMSA or WEC or 24 Hours of Le Mans, something like that. And that's exactly what it is. It's meant to get your feet wet and get into these bigger, better, faster prototypes.
And they are fun to watch. They put on some good racing, and drivers should be getting the signal here in just a moment. I think we're going at 35 past the hour locally that they'll be sending those cars out, and then another 10 minutes to try to get a time on the board here today. So far, so good, and I'm knocking on wood that we haven't seen any major issues other than one car in that last class coming to a halt a couple times, but we haven't seen any signs of big spins or big dramas, so I'm crossing fingers, Joey, that we get the same as now we get the green flag for this class.
Yeah, they'll be getting out there, and I know that they probably went through a little bit of development in between Sonoma and Barber out here. I can't wait to see how all these things really race it out. And in terms of that racing, I think that this class was the one that provided us the most amount of action that we saw over there on the West Coast about a month or so back. And I expect the times to be closer than what we saw out of both of the classes prior to this.
Yeah, now we get visuals of them coming around the circuit here towards that iconic hairpin in the middle of the circuit. Really shows you how beautiful this whole facility is as we see this nice view from above. I recommend making your way out to an event at this circuit. Even if you can't get to a race, we see some people out on the bridges. That connects here to the museum, hence why this is called Museum Corner, one of the largest collections in the world of motorcycles, if not the largest collection, I believe. And it's not just two wheels, if that's not your thing. Lots of race cars, including a Lotus race car collection out there. I spent definitely hours last time I was here just cruising through that as a real vintage fan. This whole place is very much set up to be friendly, to come on in, check it out, indulge in your racing, and then hopefully lure you back with what is just a very immaculate facility.
Beautiful green grass all the way around this place, and I agree with you, Joe, that the museum out here, definitely one to go out there and go through every single floor of that place. It's not just one floor, it's multiple levels of amazing machinery. I'm not really much of a museum person, but if there is a museum that I'm going to visit, it's going to be that one.
And I'll tell you what, it's not just that it's your typical museum. They work on refurbishing the cars, and you can go down to that on the very bottom floor. So you can see them working on some of the machines as they get them ready. And they do take them out from time to time for some trial runs out here just to make sure that they get their paces. But enough talk about the cars in the museum. We've got cars on the track, and they are on their first flying lap right now. So far, it's looking like McGurk might be the one to catch, which kind of makes sense. Clay was definitely one of the quicker teams out there in that 59 machine last time out in California. I wouldn't be too shocked if they're bringing that pace right back.
Always one of the fastest cars out there, and then really was able to capitalize with those wins and those checkered flags late in the races as well. And of course had a lot of attrition throughout that weekend. Lots of teams just overcoming the problems that they had on the racetrack, whether it be through the track itself or maybe through some teething issues with the car. But it was great to see all of these teams, Round 3 Racing, Stratus Racing, Nimbus, Automatic. I know that Random Vandals, unfortunately, they're missing out here at Barber, but they were also over at Sonoma. Every single one of these ZP2 teams did such a fantastic job in our opening round out there in California. Can't wait to see what it is this weekend.
So far, Barker is our provisional quickest, but Yep, there we go. As McGurk now sets the fastest time of anybody down to 1:32.1. Like we predicted, it is much, much closer. A tenth of a second between P1, P2. Barker in that 77 machine is so tantalizingly close. Interestingly, the quickest final sector was not McGurk, though. It was Ivan in that number 27 machine, but they're sitting all the way down in fourth. So clearly have a secret over the rest there in that final sector on this first lap. And I thought I just heard somebody spinning on our microphones, and I think that's down at Charlotte's Web. I see a car. There it is now, just getting turned around.
Yeah, this is Ivan in the number 27 car out there. So this is that Powell Racing entry with Ivan behind the wheel right now. And you called it. It was just a little bit of some audio that we had from some of the onboards. And looks like it probably got loose down there into turn number 5. We saw one of those ZR3 cars get pretty loose down in that same section of the racetrack. And Joe, you brought up the temperature, the humidity. It's not a hot weekend out there, and it is qualifying. I bet you these drivers are pushing it to the absolute limit.
I think you're right. And, Barker's retaken the top spot now. It's down to a 31.2. McGurk has actually been pushed all the way to fourth because a number of drivers have just improved on this last lap. And the 59 is going to be coming across shortly. Oh, but looks like they've already crossed the line, if I'm seeing this correctly, and they're still sitting in fourth. So second lap, certainly not as good for that car. Piatek, who was quick on the first lap, is even quicker on the second one. They're currently joining the front row with that 77 car.
These times are starting to drop. We are under 5 minutes remaining, and I see tons of green right now. Sector number 1 is green for about a handful of these cars, call it about 5 or 6 of them out of the 9. As we ride on board here, going through some of these sections at Barber Motorsports Park. This is heading into what is, call it turn 12 and 13, and then we're going to go up and over the museum corner. In that top right part of the picture-in-picture, you get a better shot out the front end of this thing, while the main screen is kind of showing exactly what the driver is dealing with and actually letting off of the gas right here. Doesn't look like they're going to be coming into pit road, but you saw the car that was directly in front of them in their windshield, just leaving a little bit of room so that way they don't get held up on this next lap.
Exactly. This is Ethan Barker that we're riding on board with. So our current pole sitter, Oliver Piatek, back up to the top by 0.04 of a second. So hopefully Barker backed it up enough to try and retake it. Clay McGurk will top both of them down to a 31 flat now. About a tenth and a half between Oliver and Clay. They are trading blows back and forth at the front of the field. In fact, our top 5 are split by half a second right now.
Pretty fun watching this onboard here. This is coming out at turn number 5, so we're going to be accelerating down to the museum corner, and this is actually the car that's just ahead of it here on the racetrack. This is through this 11 and 12 complex. This is the number 4 car of Piatek, who currently sits P2, but I'm with you, Joe. I mean, just look at our timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen. Those intervals, that gap is extremely tight, especially between the top 5.
And I think McGurk is going to try and extend what he has set because he's gone purple in Sector 1. We're watching Piatek, but both first and second sectors did not show any improvement for the number 4. 2 minutes left. That's enough time for just a couple laps here, so maybe on a cool down to try and regroup. McGurk not purple in the second sector, though, so the 59 might not be able to stretch that lead. Oh, but Barker has now moved up onto the front row.
Move that number 77, like you said, up into second as we continue to watch Piatek charge down into what is turn number 5. Once again, maybe a little bit of a nervous moment going turn in with that little bit of a loose condition, but with fast hands, they was able to correct the car, keep it right smack on the racing line. And oh my goodness, McGurk just went faster. Joe, did you see that? It's now down to a 130.7.
That puts him about 3/10 away from Barker. He kind of needed that with how tight it is up there. Every 10th will count because we're seeing continued improvement by pretty much everybody on the field. It does seem to be slowing up this time as only 2 cars are setting personal best first sectors, Piatek and Pease. But Piatek does not improve on his second sector. Doesn't mean that he's completely out of it. That 4 is just coming around the final corners as we're watching the 908 and the 59 across the back side of the course. That's McGurk there in the black and yellow machine. But McGurk also not showing any improvement. Piatek gets ready to cross the line. Piatek does not go quicker this time by. The number 5 getting ready to cross the line of Pease was personal best first sector, also not able to go faster.
What I find is wild, McGurk's first sector 24-7, Barker's first sector 24-7. Sector number 2, 40.0 out of McGurk and Barker. Does McGurk go faster? No, but it is another 130.9. Nobody else has dropped down into those 130s. Everybody else is 131 or slower. So McGurk, and the consistency is there for the number 59. I do see that the checkered flag has fallen.
I think the 27 of Jack Ivan is going to be our first. Goes quicker, but stays fourth with a 131.3. Only 0.6 off of the fastest time. That was Eklund that just flashed by us in the 909. He stays in ninth for the time being. Next car, going to be the number 4 at Piatek. Briefly on the top and not showing as an improvement in first or second sectors, Joey. It's not looking good. It's going to take a very fast final sector to jump up.
Maybe for the number 4 car, but I'm looking at the number 77. He just went green, sector number 1, and then, for everybody else, purple, sector number 2 for that number 77 car. I see McGurk is also on a flyer. He just went green, sector number 2, so I think that the 59 and the 77, they may be holding out here for the final lap.
Barker's looking good. He's coming to the line here now on your screen. He's that spec that's just getting ready to cross, and he does take the pole away by a 1/10 of a second over Clay McGurk, who has finished his up but does not improve. A lot of drivers are heading into pit lane. Waddell, I think, going to be the last one, but it's not looking like this is an improving lap. So impressive stuff from the 77 there of Ethan Barker at the last moment to steal it away from his rivals.
Fantastic job. I mean, I think that we're always looking towards the ZP2 class to be as close as it possibly can, like you had mentioned, kind of given that it's the most spec class that we've got out here. The action that we saw in California was relentless through both days, and if anything, qualifying is a preview for what we are about to see here this weekend. It is going to be awesome.
It will. It's a class that is very quick in the corners, but with that's going to be tough for them to try and overtake some of the slower classes throughout the race. Watch for that being an entertaining one when they start to catch traffic, especially since we have more cars than we had back at Sonoma, as the drivers will have their own difficulties trying to weave their way through. I know we are on the lookout for our pole sitter, and hopefully we'll be able to chat with Ethan Barker here in just a moment. And then everybody's got to quickly turn these cars around to try and prepare for a 5-hour race. And then they're going to have to go and do it all again tomorrow as well. We can't forget, we got 2 of them this weekend, Joey.
Yeah, and that race on Sunday, just a little bit longer, I believe, 6 hours versus the 5 hours that we're going to be doing here today. Have a little bit of a break after we start that one. We do start racing green flag a little bit earlier tomorrow than what we do get going today, because we have this qualifying here to set the grids for our racing action that we're going to see a little bit later here. Of course, had those ZR2 cars, already had the ZR3 cars, and now we've wrapped up qualifying here for the ZP2s, just waiting for the number 77 of Barker to pull it down into pit road, and hopefully maybe Sloan Polisner will be able to catch up with our pole driver. But from what I see, Joe, I think everybody is kind of hooking the left at the end of pit road and going back up to the garages.
Yeah, getting her a little bit of a workout, it looks like, potentially here. We'll see if we manage to get them. And it looks like, actually, I can see them just pulling up to her here shortly. So she's going to get a nice interview with that 77 team in just a moment. The Nimbus car finding themselves quickest on this session. Will they be quickest in the race itself? It's been a little bit of a gloomy morning, a lot of cloud cover, but thankfully we haven't really seen much in the way of rain. It looks like Sloan is ready. Let's head down to her to chat with our pole winner.
Hey guys, whoa, crazy. That was crazy close, but we are going to be here shortly with our pole winner for the ZP2 class, Ethan Barker. It's always interesting because it's like, okay, when should we start this? They're getting out of the car. They need a second to kind of recoup before I put a microphone in their face. But if you get 10 more seconds, maybe we should bet on it. How long do we think it takes them to get to me after they get out of the car? I don't want to bet on it. Never mind. Ethan, that was crazy close. What was, first and foremost, congratulations. What is going through your head when you're, coming to the close of qualifying and you're just so close to maybe getting pole, maybe not? Talk me through those emotions.
I was just pushing, finding as many tenths as I could. I was real consistent the whole session, just trying to find that little extra bit, and then, we just made it happen. I'm just super stoked that the Nimbus car is on pole, and I'm super excited for the race.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Have you ever been to Barber before?
I've been to Barber one time, yes.
Okay, wow. Well, that's very impressive. So congratulations again for the third time, and we're looking forward to seeing you out on track later.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Sloan. So there you go. Our grid has been set, but we will go racing a little bit later today. That will be at 11:55 a.m. local time here at Barber Motorsports Park. From myself, Joe Peak, and Joey Atterbury, as well as Sloan Paulisner, we'll see you in a bit. Stick around for more Zenith Racing Series later today.